Hello everyone. In the last class, we have studied ethics, values, integrity, and morality that has to be implemented in construction industry and why it is very important as a engineering life, as a engineer's life, as a profession. Why those are very important in construction companies or one's life that we have discussed in the last class. Today we are discussing some other important topics like what is actually the engineering ethics and what are the different conflicts that will occur in the construction company and in the profession, and what is confidentiality. These are all the things we will discuss today, and we will come to an end of a third module. So we'll begin with the engineering ethics. So the term professional ethics is interchangeable with engineering ethics. Engineering ethics deals with the moral issues and decisions confronting individuals or organizations engaged in engineering. The question about the moral ideas, characters, policies, relationships of people and corporations involved in the technological activities. So, engineering ethics is the activity and a discipline aimed at understanding the moral values that may be used to guide engineering practices, resolving moral issues in engineering, and justifying moral judgments concerning the engineering. Actually, the scope of engineering ethics is much more wider than the ethics of engineers. Engineering ethics is applicable to the decisions made by other engagement technological enterprises. It relates to scientists, managers, supervisors, technical workers, elected representatives, lawyers, and general public. So, ethics of the workplace are concerned with co-workers, employees, and employers, whereas ethics related to the product or work depends upon the product safety and end users. So, what are the different scopes of engineering ethics? Engineering as a social experimentation, engineers' responsibility for safety, role of engineers, managers, consultants, rights of engineers, and moral reasoning and ethical theories, reasonably to employ responsibility to employers, and global issues and concerns. So, what are the different objectives? To understand the moral values that outguide the engineering profession, resolve the moral issues in the profession, to justify the moral judgment concerning the profession. It is intended to develop a set of benefits, attitudes, habits that engineers should be display concerning morality, and to increase one's ability to deal effectively with the moral complexity in engineering practice. So, as related to engineering ethics, some skills should be implemented. Those are moral awareness, that is, proficiency in recognizing moral problems and issues in engineering, and moral reasoning, that is, comprehending, clarifying, and accessing arguments on opposing sides of the moral issues, and moral coherence, forming consistent and comprehensive points based on considerations of relevant facts, and moral imagination, that is, discerning alternative responses to moral issues and finding creative solutions for practical difficulties. Whereas moral communication is precision in the use of common ethical language. Skills need to express the support one's moral gives adequacy to others. Next, moral reasonableness, that is the willingness and ability to be morally reasonable, and respect for persons, genuine concerns for the well-being of others as well as oneself, and tolerance of diversity, that is within a broad range respect for ethnic and religious differences, and acceptance of reasonable differences in moral perspectives, and moral hope, that is enriched appreciation of the possibilities of using rational dialogue in resolving moral conflicts, and integrity, maintaining moral integrity and integrating one's professional life and personal convictions. These are some skills to be implemented in engineering field. As I mentioned, it's based on engineering ethics. Next, what is the definition of engineering ethics? It is the rules and standards governing the conduct of engineers and suppliers, more specifically to situations involving in engineering in the professional life. It is defined as the study of the moral issues and decisions confronting individuals and organizations engaged in engineering, and also it can be defined as the study related problems about the moral ideas, characters, policies, and the relationships of the people and operations involved in technical activities. It is applied not only to the decisions taken by the engineers, but also technological enterprises, scientists, managers, production workers, supervisors, technicians, technical writers, sales staff, government officials, elected representatives, lawyers, doctors, and even to the general public. The code and conduct of engineering ethics is not only part and parcel of engineers who are working in the industries, and also very much essential for the other related fields like public safety, bribery and fraud, environmental protection, honest in research, testing of conflicts of interest, etc. So, which are all the different approaches to engineering ethics? Mainly, basically, there are two approaches. This is a microethics and macroethics. So, what is microethics? This approach addresses typical everyday problem that the engineer face in their professional life. In other words, microethics describes ethical issues that may affect an engineer's professional and personal life. Whereas macro, it deals with the societal problems that engineers encounter during their career. In other words, macroethics discusses ethical issues concerning all societal problems that engineers might encounter. Microethics is personal relations with the engineer, whereas macro is related for the societal problems. So, which are the different senses of engineering ethics? Engineering ethics is an activity and leadership aimed at understanding the moral values to guide the engineering practices to solve moral issues in engineering and the justifying moral judgment concerned in engineering. So, first one is distinction of moral issues for non-moral issues. That is, engineering ethics in this sense refers to a set of moral issues faced by engineer during his day-to-day practice of his profession. Second one is codes of conduct. Engineering ethics are accepted codes and standards of conduct endorsed by various groups of engineering societies and other professional bodies like Institute of Engineers and Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers and All India Council for Technical Education and Medical Council of India, etc. Next, last one is synonym for morally correct. That is, engineering ethics refers to how it professional it to the quotes with reference to his responsibilities, applications, rights, and ideals, which may vary significantly from person to person. Such variances too are sometimes specified in the codes of practices. So, conflicts of interest. Next comes, what is actually the conflict of interest? It has been a subject of extreme importance in recent scandals in which employees, agents, and professionals fail to exercise proper judgment on behalf of their principals. These are the situations where professionals have self-interest. If self-interest is given importance, it may kept them away from meeting their application to their employees or clients. So it can be stated as a conflict of interest occurs when the independent judgment of a person is swayed or might be swayed from making decisions in the best interest of others where relying on the judgment. So, which are the different types of conflicts of interest? That is, actual conflict of interest, potential conflict of interest, apparent conflict of interest, interest in other companies, and moonlighting and insider information. What is actual conflict? It is based on weaker judgment and service. It refers to the loss of objectivity in decision making and inability to faithfully discharge professional duties to employer. There are so many varieties of possible outside interest to the engineer. So, conflict of interest can arise in so many ways. To identify conflicts of interest, the general test is whether there is any possibility of an outside interest influence a professional judgment or the judgment of a professional is serving employers or clients. Second one is potential conflicts of interest. There are situations where the interest of employees extend beyond the current employer and into the interest of one's spouse, relative, or friend. So it is based on difference between the gifts and bribes. So conflicts of interest have threatened good judgment of an employer or a client for a faithful service. For example, an engineer may find himself becoming a friend gradually with the supplier for his company. Although this situation does not constitute in conflict, there is a chance that the engineer judgment might become inflicted in order to maintain the friendship with that supplier. This kind of potential conflicts also arise when accepting large gifts from the supplier. So, to understand clearly, first we should understand the difference between the bribe and gift. So, bribe is nothing but a substantial amount of money or goods offered beyond its stated business contract with the aim of winning an advantage in gaining or keeping the contract, and where the advantage is illegal or otherwise unethical. Bribes are illegal or immoral because there are substantial enough to threaten fairness in competitive situations. So, gifts are nothing but those are actually not bribes as long as they are small gratitude offered with normal conduct of business. Gifts are beliefs in given friendship rather than for influence. Full stop. Influence. Often companies gives gifts to employees for government agencies for partnerships in trades first, and many such gifts are unobjectionable. Engineers should not accept money directly or indirectly from contractors for their agents in connection with the work. This is one of the guidelines. If one receives any gifts which will cause and embrace the consequence of the company when made public, then the gift is considered as bribe. So, entertainment, travel, and other social functions give rise to special difficulties. Many companies encourage their employees to form social relationships with the suppliers and the clients in order to enhance their business interests. This is also another form of bribery. So, what is the difference? So, bribe is nothing but given before, and it's a large amount, usually poor quality of product they will give, and given in secret, and it damages the goodwill and reputation of the organization. Whereas gift given after the work completed, and it's a small amount articles or daily usage things, and maybe good or high quality, and given in open, and no damage is involved to the organization. Next, what is kickbacks? Rearrange the payments made by contractors to companies or the representatives in exchange of contracts actually granted are called kickbacks. Many people regard kickback as commission. So, apparent conflict of interest. It may occur when an engineer is paid based on percentage of the cost of the design and there is no incentive for him to cut costs. So, in this situation, it appears as the engineer is making the design more expensive in order to make large commission for himself. Next is interest in other companies. It consists of having an interest in the business of a competitor or a subcontractor. So, what is moonlighting? It deals with the person who is working in two companies. So, this will break the rights to pursue a person's self-interest, because moonlight will produce the conflict of interest only when a person is working for competition, suppliers, when customers. Another effect of moonlighting is that it leaves the person exhausted and harms the job performance in both the places. So, what is insider information? It's a kind of sensitive conflict of interest which consists of using inside information to make an advantage or to start a new business opportunity for oneself or one's family or one's friends. The information may be of a person's own company or another company with which he does the business. Then the use of company's secrets by its employees to get a personal benefit is always dangerous in the interest of the accompanying, and will create a conflict of interest between the employees and the employers. So, how to avoid conflicts of interest? So, taking guidance from a company's policy, and if it is absence, then if it is not there, then taking a second opinion from co-worker or manager. This gives an impression that there is no intention on the part of engineer to hide anything. Next, if it is also absent, then examine one's own motives and use the ethical problem solving techniques. And of all the above, one can carefully look into the statement of profession codes of ethics which uniformly refuse to allow conflicts of interest. So next comes confidentiality. Confidential information is the information which is desired to keep secret in government, department or private company. So engineers or employees are expected to keep information confidential. Keeping components to confidential is the most important duty of a profession or professional. Confidentiality is an ethical principle associated with several professions. Lawyer must keep a client's information very confidential. Doctors must keep their patients' information confidential, whereas the teachers must keep their students' information confidential. Similarly, employed engineer must keep information of their companies and clients confidential. They are expected not to leak out any confidential information to unauthorized people, both inside and outside the company. So, confidential information with respect to business includes any information that the employer or client would like to have kept in secret in order to compete effectively against business rivals. And most information about how its business and its product and its suppliers directly affects the company's ability to compete into the market. So such informations can be used by employee to gain advantage to catch up. Next, test results and data, information about upcoming unreleased products, and design of a formula of products, the number of employees working in a project, the identity of suppliers, and marketing strategies, production costs, production yields. These are all the confidential information with respect to business. Next, there are two terms that are related to confidentiality. Those are privileged information and proprietary information. So, what is privileged information? This information only available only on the basis of special privilege, such as granted to employees working on a special assignment. So, it covers information that has not yet become a public or widely known within an organization itself. So, proprietary information is that a company owns. It is information owned by a proprietor in a legal sense. This means ownership. This is primarily used in legal sense, also called as trade secret. A trade secret can be virtually any type of information that has not become public and which an employer has taken steps to keep secret. So it may be data about designs, technical processes, and so on. So effect of change of job on confidentiality. If you change your job from one company to another, so what actually it affects into the confidentiality of previous company. So employers are obliged to protect confidential information regarding former employment after the change of the job. The confidentiality trust between the employer and employee continuously on the period of employment. Or the employee cannot force to not to seek a change of job. Next, the employer's right to keep the trade secrets confidential by a former employee should be accepted at the same time. An employer's right to seek career advancement cannot also be denied. So, last topic is whistleblowing. Whistleblower is a person who exposes any kind of information or activity that is deemed illegal and ethical or not correct within an organization, that is either private or public. The term whistleblower comes from the whistle a referee uses to indicate an illegal or foul play. So, exposing misconduct, illegal or dishonest activity is a big fear for public employees because they feel they are going against the government and a country. So, the reasons may be violation of company policies, rules and regulation, threat to public interest, threat to national security, fraud and corruption. So, there are two types of whistleblowing. Those are internal whistleblowing and external. So, what is actually internal whistleblowing? Internally, whistleblower can bring his or her accusation to the attention of other people within the accused organization. Individuals who expose information regarding wrongdoing, fraud, corruption, or business management and report such acts in an organization. Usually, the chief executive officers and senior management are called internal whistleblowers, whereas external whistleblowing is individuals who report of such wrongdoings or misconduct outside of organization, that is to the media and law enforcement agencies, etc., are called external whistleblowers. Externally, a whistleblower can bring allegations to light by contracting third party outside of an accused organization. Whistleblowers can reach out to the media, government, law enforcement, or those who are concerned. So, in these cases, depending on the information's severity and nature, whistleblowers may report the misconduct to lawyers, the media, law enforcement, or watchdog agencies, or other local, state, or federal agencies. Thank you.